Hello everyone and welcome. I hope everyone is doing well. Today we are going to finish that painting of the blacksmith hut. So this is the fourth part of this painting. That painting is now totally dry and we are going to build up some details on top of it now. So for those who don't know me, I'm Boris Huguenel and I'm a French realistic impressionistic painter. So as I said, this is totally dry and now we are going to go and put some details over it. Color wise, I'm using titanium white, a neutral gray, a yellow light, a red permanent, a ultramarine blue and a burnt umber. We will use some rosemary brushes, selection of different sizes going from 2 to 10. 10 I'm going to use for the sky. Also using, so these are mostly flat brushes, but I'm also using a couple of filberts to do the leaves here. Okay, so I'm going to, as per usual, fast forward most of that painting, as there is in reality 3 hours of painting, and I'm going to talk you through it at the important moments. So here we go, sit back, enjoy the painting. So starting with the sky, I'm using a mixture of titanium white and ultramarine blue. I'm adding a little bit of yellow and some of my grey, neutral grey. What I'm after is the same tint that I had before. I'm a touch lighter, so I'm adding a little bit of blue. I will want to change that sky a little bit by adding some clouds, so it would fit a little bit better in the overall painting. For this, as you could see, I added a little bit more yellow and a touch of burnt umber, just to warm it up. Getting it slightly warmer for the very top of the clouds, and then, as you could see, a little under painting on the clouds for the bottom part, which I added some burnt umber and some red into it a little bit. And this to me is much better for the sky. We had too much blue all over it, so now it's much more harmonious with the overall painting. I'm painting just painted the back row of the trees, putting some skylights in here. Here I'm adding some texture, some different hues on the back rows of the trees. Darken it a little bit to the left. I've added a little poplar tree here, as it needed something else. We have to be careful here not to detail anything too much. and we have to be very subtle with the values. So the value has to be light. And the broken colors have to be light too. Adding a few darks just around the back trees. It just makes it stand out a touch more, as you can see. And loads of painters are doing this trick. Actually, I know some painters who draw an outline on all their trees. So I've got a little jar to clean my brushes. I keep it shut for the smell, as it's turpentine. Here we're doing a green, different green, a bit stronger in values and hue. I should say value, not in hue, just in value. Stronger. And I do the same thing. As it's as the value is a little bit darker, it pops forward a little bit more. Don't forget some sky holes, even in the trees we call it sky holes. Outline on the side there as well. Add a few trunks and branches, or indication of trunk and branches, keeping the value very light and very similar to the rest of the tree. Working my way forward. I'm doing now the same thing on those forward trees and bushes, still darkening the value by another half a tone. Now we're going to work on the trees to the left. I'm mixing a lighter color. It is half a tone lighter than what's there already, just to get the light side of the trunks, and I'm adding a few branches here and there. I'm not after something perfect and polished and completely straight. Adding a trunk up there in the tree as well, a few trunks or branches. Adding a few darks for the back side of the trunks. One thing I realized is that having 3 different colors of the same value in each element, so the trunks, the bushes, etc., gives us a 3D effect. Now I'm adding some small leaves, so this is something that you may or may not want to do, adding a few more details. It's a personal choice. I personally don't overdo it, but I think a few leaves there, here and there, will just make the whole thing look much more realistic. Be careful to get lighter as you go towards the sky. So I add quite a bit of blue in my mixture for those leaves. They often look a bit hazy, especially in the summer, as this is a summer landscape. Adding a few dots here and there. Be careful with them. Try to keep the value close. You need to go lighter, but you can't go too light. If not, it wouldn't look right. But you can clearly see with all the work that we've done to this tree, it really starts to look 3D. There's a nice volume to it, and this is only achievable if you concentrate about form to start with. Okay, now moving on to the roof. This is a mixture of red, ultramarine blue and burnt umber. I'm starting to put the tiles in. They're Roman tiles, so they're rounded. Keep the same angle of the roof. Get a little narrower towards the left and a little wider towards the right as it's coming forward to you. Do broken strokes as well, don't do everything really refined. I do put details on it, as you can see, but I'm not a fan of too many details. And here I'll have to straighten the roof a little bit, but as you can see, everything is possible. So keep it very subdued at the back there. That's actually a second roof going further back. Putting some highlights to one side to give it a bit more form. Shadow under the roof. I like to do my shadows blue-purple. Sometimes I go a bit more towards the blue, sometimes towards the purple, depending on the day, the season, etc. Adding the hut on the chimney, and now there we have flat tiles, so I'm just drawing those tiles in now. A little darker to the left, brighter to the front, always thinking about form, and for that often you have to change the value, or at least the hue, warm and cools. Putting a few lights. Again, you end up with 3 colors, which, as I said before, helps for the 3D look. You can put as much or as less details as you want to at this stage. Working on the trees in the front, clump a few trees there. Adding some shadow here. Really makes that pop out. See, a few darks, so you mustn't overdo it in the darks, but a few darks really helps. Following with this sage tree, again adding highlight on one side, shadows on the other, add a few lighter highlights and a few darker shadows. This all helps in the look of the dimension of the tree. So here there's a stone roof, which I'm doing now. I keep it quite grey and dark. There's nothing to it, just like building a brick wall. So that's the second color. Put a few highlights on it, a few darks, and there you got something who looks quite three-dimensional. Adding a few loose leaves, or at least the form of some leaves. Now working on the bridge, adding the stones. Some darker, some brighter. Random as well. So I'm making a real dark now, which I will add here and there to really get some volume. You can see, have you seen how instantly just a few darks like that adds straight away some volume. And helps the perspective as well. As it's darker, it's catching your eye and it comes forward. Without these darks we would have something flat in the front there. So it is very important to get some in. In the same time we mustn't overdo it. There we got a little bush. Need to put a few highlights onto it. Now we're starting on the tree to the right, starting with some leaves here and there. I'm going to lighten the front part of these trees to make it pop even more. Again, don't overdo it with all these leaves. Less is more. If not, it could quickly look like your tree would have chicken pox or something. You also could quickly destroy the form that you created with the light and darks. So you have to be very, very careful with those. Here I'm adding them randomly. As you can see, I changed direction of the brush so they're not all looking the same. And as for now, you can see it looks a bit like all dotted over, but once I'm adding the highlight in a bigger mass like I do now, it will work much better with the overall of the form. See, we broke them up. There's less just a leaf scattered about. It is more like a clump now. But notice how it really makes that tree up in the form of this tree. Or trees, I should say. There is loads of trees. A little trunk in there. In the sky holes, often it's nice to see a trunk appear. A few branches, so lighter in the dark, darker in the light. That's why I don't follow the picture, because it would throw me out. You know, you see those light and darks, but not as obvious as you do them in a picture. So I'm painting here what I feel and not what I can see. Oh yes, by the way, I had to mention this, I didn't mention it. I am not having any reference there anymore. I'm only painting and feeling now what the painting needs, and not exactly what I could see on the picture, etc. All I'm doing there is just putting what the paint needs and get something very harmonious together. You see, I just put a darker bronze in the light. Get rid of some darks here. I put some blue like leaves in the shadow part, which at the end will look like you can see into the shadows. And now we're finishing with the foreground, where we're going to add a few details. See how I use the texture of the canvas that I did before to just have the highlight coming on top of this texture. I'm going darker as I come forward as well. Here I'm putting some shadows, that the cast shadows I would say, from the tree and the leaves, and for that I use a purple, a light purple. And I'm only using it on the floor, putting some here on the bushes as well, not too many, just here and there, a couple. Everywhere that I have a shadow or some shadows, here from the tree as well. It just finishes this up very nicely. So carry on with the very front row. You can see I'm getting darker and darker to have something who's not just flat but has a little bit of perspective. I put a few flowers and plants, going very thick now with the highlights, adding a few more darks which will bring this forward. Some browns as well, very important. Using just a knife to really slab on some texture there. Getting, as I said, some flowers in as well. You really can play with that, you know, back and forth. Don't overdo it. It's like everything. But where you have a light, you need a dark. So I'm going to add some dark into that in a little bit, so it will make it pop a little better. Loading with colors again. Use quite a bit when you work with a knife, actually. Making the dark up, so now we add a few darks again and see how this pops out straight away. Adding a few more darks here and there, some blade of grass, random texture. Careful in the shadow, don't be too thick. It's only in the light that you want to go in pastel. Now adding some yellow, blues, white flowers, and there we are. So this little video tutorial, call it whatever you want, is coming to an end. I really hope you enjoyed it. It is a series of 4 small videos who shows this entire painting, but you can see that you can do something quite nice, polished, finished, using the impressionistic technique. So next, coming up, we are going to do probably a portrait or some kind of portrait, and then we do tonal painting again. So that is it for me. I wish you happy painting, all the best, and I'll see you soon in another video.